Do you have important things that you wish you could tell someone in your life, but you just can't seem to find the right words? Maybe you wish that you had told your mother how much you loved her while she was still alive. Or maybe you wish you could tell your grandmother how much you appreciated her. Most of us have regrets that we didn't get to say something when we could. Or we have things that we want to say, but we just can't seem to find the right words. Today, I'm going to talk about one strategy that may help when you have things that you want to tell someone that's really important to you, but you just feel stuck in how to do it. Hi, I'm Dr. Laurie Bruce. I'm a clinical psychologist and mindfulness coach and host of the podcast From Both Sides of the Couch, where I talk about my insights and strategies related to mental health from both the perspective of a psychologist as well as a client in my own therapy. Today, we're going to talk about the things that we haven't said. If you're like me, then maybe you play out conversations in your head with other people. Could be just me, but I tend to have these dialogues in my head, things that I wish I had done differently, conversations that I would like to have, but maybe feel anxious about. I think about conversations that I've had in the past that I wish I could do over. Or I might even make up a confrontation that I want to have with someone, but probably won't. In the last 5 years or so, I've been learning more about experiential therapies. Experiential therapy is a broad term to mean that the therapy is not just talking about our thoughts and feelings with our therapist. In experiential therapy, we are expressing our feelings through a variety of different experiential strategies. So what do I mean by that? One example is called the empty chair technique. In this technique, we imagine that the other person that we want to have a conversation with is sitting across from us. In the empty chair technique, we give ourselves full permission to be able to say what we want to say to that other person. All the things. It's actually a hugely different experience to tell your therapist, I wish I could say XYZ to this person, versus imagining that that other person is there and truly going through the motions of saying what you want to say. Another experiential exercise is what we call psychodrama. Psychodrama is usually done in groups, though it doesn't have to be. In psychodrama, for example, you might choose one group member to represent someone who has been hurtful to you in your life, while other group members stand beside you as your emotional protectors. We can express our hurt and anger directly to that person when in real life, maybe that person would not be receptive or able to sit quietly and listen. Psychodrama allows us to get creative in allowing us to express our emotions in a way that feels cathartic or helpful, but safe. In my own therapy, I've been doing a lot of experiential work lately. I think experiential work is particularly helpful for grief and for complicated series of emotions. As we know, we can't think our way through grief. The only way through grief is through it, through the actual experiencing of the anger, the loss, the heartache, the disappointment, the guilt, all of the emotions that you might be feeling during a grieving period. Doing experiential work can really move the needle, especially if you feel like you've been stuck in your grief. I would not recommend doing empty chair work or psychodrama unless you are working with a skilled therapist. But there is a type of experiential therapy that you could consider doing on your own, and this is what we're going to talk about today, called The Letter You're Never Gonna Send. The instructions are pretty basic. Write a letter to someone whom you have a lot to say. Write it fully with no inhibitions. This is the time not to be polite, not to be kind, not to worry about someone else's feelings. We are 100% committed to expressing every unfiltered thought and feeling that we have. Tell them exactly what you want to say. Then, when you're done, put it away. You can burn it, you can tear it up into a million little pieces, or you could save it, put it away for another time for you to review to see if you're still feeling the intensity that you were feeling at the time that you wrote it. The idea is you aren't going to send this letter. For many of us, the person that we have things we want to say to maybe has already passed, or maybe you've set such good boundaries with this person that you have very limited relationship with them. The idea is we are expressing our thoughts and feelings to this person without the actual person's response. Not everyone in our life is safe for us to have these kinds of conversations with. Some of the people, probably most of the people that we want to have these kinds of conversations with, might get defensive, might get angry, might turn it around back on you. And that's the last thing you need in your healing process. Most of the people in our lives cannot actually healthfully hear what we need to say, which is why we can't tell them our truths, and which is why we're in this process of writing this letter. Just because the person can't hear it doesn't mean that your truth isn't worth saying. Speaking our truth is essential. Whether we speak it to a therapist, in a journal, or to the person directly, for true healing to occur, we need to express all of the complicated thoughts and feelings that we have. We can't just think about it. We need to feel it. And writing a letter that we'll never send allows us to do that. Writing helps us slow down, be intentional with our words, say everything in exactly the way that we want to say it without being interrupted. Because the reality is, if we try to have this conversation, even if the person is somewhat receptive to it, chances are good that our emotions are going to be very intense. We're going to be anxious, angry, overwhelmed, and that is not the best state to try to have a productive conversation. Being able to write it down allows you to say 100% what needs to be said, even when we're angry, anxious, or triggered. Writing it down gives us all the time in the world. We might take breaks as we're writing this letter. We might write the first paragraph, put it away, and say, okay, I'll come back to that again in a little bit. You might even consider devoting an entire notebook to all the things I didn't say but wanted to. To be fair, this is not going to be fun. This is going to hurt. You'll probably cry. You might need to take breaks, like I said, from this letter to engage in self-care. Maybe you write a paragraph and then go for a walk. Maybe you write another paragraph and take a hot shower or snuggle with your dog or call a trusted friend. This is going to hurt. And in fact, if it isn't hurting, then I'd encourage you to make sure that you're really getting in touch with the emotions underneath. You might need to write this letter a few times, or 10 times, or 100 times. There are no rights and wrongs. What I will say is that the more space you give yourself, the more self-compassion you can bring to yourself, the more space you open up for healing and peace. Is there ever a situation where you shouldn't write this letter? What I would say is, if you have difficulty thinking about this concept thinking about this person without engaging in some form of destructive or negative coping strategies, then we probably don't want to do this just yet. So, what do I mean by negative coping strategies? So, some of us, when we get triggered, will turn to things like food or alcohol or drugs or shopping, and in order to help us cope with the emotions that it triggers. So if that's you, then I would say please work with a trusted therapist so that you can learn healthy coping skills first, which will then allow you to be able to work through this pain and grief with the other person. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever written letters that you didn't send, and did you find that helpful? Have there been other experiential strategies that you have tried rather than just traditional talk therapy that you feel have really made a meaningful difference in helping you heal? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So if you're watching this on YouTube, put a comment below or feel free to message me at Dr. Laurie at drlauriebruce.com. I hope you have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.